talk about formal and informal greetings. All right? Formal and informal greetings. Ronald, Caleb, where you at? Let's see an informal greeting. This would be an informal greeting. There's nothing wrong with this greeting at all. It's informal though. They know each other. All right? How do you all greet each other? Boom. There's nothing wrong with that. That's an informal greeting. Now they're going to show us a formal greeting. A formal greeting, as a man, when you talk to another man, you're going to shake his hand, you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to look him in the face. That's what men do, all right? Go ahead, show us a formal greeting. There you go. That was, see the difference? So when you have the opportunity to sit down and meet the mayor, right, you're not going to dab it up with him because you don't know him yet, right? Now, after you get to know him, you all might dab it up. You might have a secret handshake. I don't know. But until then, you're going to do it formally, all right? So here's what we're going to do, because we're getting ready to switch seats. We're going to mix it up. I need you to stand up. Everybody stand up, please. I need you to introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. I need you to introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. Introduce yourself. John Harden, meet North Harden. North Harden, meet John Harden. Hey, don't be cheating. I know y'all know each other. I know y'all know each other. Hey, meet somebody new. Meet somebody new. Introduce yourself.
What's your name?
You meet somebody new. We're doing formal introductions. First and last names, gentlemen. First and last names. You want people to remember who you are. You want somebody to remember your name. Steps outside of your comfort zone. Meet somebody new. Meet somebody new. That's your goal right now. Meet somebody new. Introduce yourself. I'm talking about. All right, everybody go back to your seats, please. Go back to your seats. Yeah, we got to set with some people we don't know. Everybody stand up. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. We're going to mix it up, guys. You got to set with some people you don't know. There you go. Switch tables. That's how you grow. If it was easy, everybody would do it. I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Dustin Shepard back there. Everybody wave to Dustin. He's the general manager of the Shoes Place. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. He just had a radio, he had an advertisement on the radio this morning. I heard it. So let me tell you how old I am. I was this guy's 7th grade language arts teacher. So that's how old I am. All right, let's talk about leadership. When we talk about leadership, 4 main things that we want you to do. We want you to be able to do. All right, these are 4 things that I think that you can do. I want you to empower people, inspire people, lead change, and share your vision. All right, those are 4 things. 4 things. Now here's one question everybody's going to have to answer before you leave today. This is the question that you're going to have to be able to answer for me. That's all you got to do. That's the only test you're going to have today. The only test. You're going to have to answer this question. What can you do to be a leader in your community? What can you do? You specifically. So if you think, well, I'm 15, what am I going to do? I'm 14, what am I going to do? Wrong. There's tons of stuff you can do. After we talk today, after you listen to these speakers, right, you're going to be able to answer this question. That's what I want, all right? So we're getting ready to start, all right? So once again, everybody get comfortable. Make sure your cell phones are away. All right, let's talk about our body language. Let's make sure that we have our hoods off. Let's make sure that we're focused, we're listening to the speaker, all right? I want you to be ready to ask this guy some questions when he's done, okay? Because he's going to show you some stuff I think that you might like. Raise your hand here if you want to be poor when you grow up. Oh, that's what I thought. Nobody does. Now, okay, I'm going to ask a silly question, right? Raise your hand if you want to be rich. Boom, everybody wants to be rich. So this guy right here, Mr. Brent Ditto, he's a financial planner, okay? He knows what he's talking about. If you ask people in our community who he is, they know who he is. People that have money, that want to grow their money, they know who he is, okay? So when he talks, I'll listen. And he knows a lot more about money than we do, okay? So I'm going to turn it over. Mr. Brent Ditto, everybody.
Like you said, I'm a graduate of Central Hardin. Hardin County's been home for me for forever, right? I love living in this area, all right? But like you said, I do help people with money, investments, okay? Now, I will start out with saying this. Money won't make you happy. No, just by having money doesn't mean you're going to be happy. But having money actually at 100% will keep you from being miserable. Okay, so we don't want that. Okay, when I was your all's age, what do you think I wanted to be when I grew up? Anybody want to guess? Huh? I was not good at basketball, but you're on the right track. I'll tell you this, what?
Football.
I played football, but I knew I wasn't very good. He could attest to that. I wanted to be a pro baseball player. Now, I knew I wasn't very fast or strong or very good, so I had to have a backup plan, right? So my backup plan was if I couldn't do sports or couldn't play, maybe I could still somehow be involved. So I wanted to be a sports broadcaster instead, right? So I started out, I went to WKU. Anybody know WKU has the best broadcasting school in the country? Did you know that? Just, 60 miles down the road, that's where it's a great broadcasting. But they were already trying to talk me out of sports. They said, you better pick something else. It's like, I didn't want that. But I had taken an economics class. Anybody know what economics is? A study of what? Study of the economy, study of money. I loved it. It made sense to me. It's like, you know what? That could be something I could do. Now, another part that impacted my life earlier than that was my father bought shares of First Federal Bank. Anybody know First Federal? Now it's West Banco. Y'all know West Banco that's in town? Okay. My great-grandmother had given us money, savings bonds, and they matured. And then, so he didn't know what to do with it, so he bought shares for me with that money. I didn't know the first thing about investing, but I did like it because every 90 days, there was a check that came in the mail, $36, had my name on it. I could do anything I wanted with that money. It was mine. I didn't even have to get out of bed. I didn't have to do any chores. I didn't have to do anything. That was fascinating to me. I knew how hard it was to work to earn $1, but if I could make my money make that same amount and I didn't have to do anything, that fascinated me. That's kind of what investing can be, right? You're using your head, you're looking at things, and you're making your money work for you as opposed to you having to work for it, right? So for me, I tell my buddies I get to play fantasy football every single day. Except for being players, it's companies. Trying to find companies that in the future are going to make more money, more profits. If they do that, guess what? Their business is worth more, right? So to me, it's a hobby. It's something I love. It's something I look forward to. I can't wait to go to work every day. Now, I've had jobs where I've hated, so it can appreciate when I get to a point where if you find something you love doing, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And think about this also. You're going to spend more time working at a job than anything else you'll do. You'll spend more time at work than sleeping, right? Find something you enjoy. Find something you like doing. You all are freshmen, correct? You all have plenty of time to be figuring out. Be thinking about it. Be thinking about it now. Actually, that's one thing I regret. I wish I'd have done sooner, is figured out what I wanted to do. I found it. I got to where I wanted to. But now, like I said, I love going to work. What I want to talk about today is something that I wish somebody had told me. And again, you all are going to hear it because you need to hear this, okay? Talk about retirement. Anybody know someone that's retired, right? Grandparents probably, maybe some parents at this point. My parents, my grandparents, and every generation before had retirement completely different to what I'm going to have and I'm going to face and what you all are going to face, okay? So that's what I'm going to talk about, because the things that we talk about here today, you all have to hear. You need to hear this. Thankfully, too, now by the time you graduate from John or North, you're going to have a class on financial literacy. So you're going to hear some of this stuff again. But that's a good thing. You all need to hear this, okay? How many of you all think you're going to live to be 100 years old? Raise a hand. All right? I see a few. What if I told you all half of you would live to be 100? Now, you also have to want to live to be 100. You kind of have to do some things, take care of yourself, exercise, eat right. But if you did all those things, statistically say now, you will live to be 100 years old. That's the facts. Now, there's some downside to living to 100. She didn't look very happy, does she? Why do you think she's happy? You think Legos are going to come take them away? Right? She doesn't look very happy. All right, I want to introduce you all to someone. This is my great-grandmother. She was born in 1916. Now, she passed away in 2017. But if you do the math, you can see she lived to be 101 and 7 months old. To the very end, she lived at home by herself. And she had a great sense of humor. She was a really funny person. She would tell me that when she woke up in the morning, she'd turn the radio on. She'd listen to the obituaries. If she didn't hear her name, she would get out of bed. Just, had her wit until the very end. But you look at it, when she was born in 1916, what do you think the world was like? Do they have the things that we have today? No. In fact, look how things were. In 1916, right? To get around, you maybe had a horse and buggy, right? For entertainment, you may have gone to a play once a month, maybe, right? You didn't get your news every single day. You didn't have social media. You didn't have radio. You didn't have TV, right? You may have gotten a newspaper once a week, sometimes less often than that. Probably got most of your news from word of mouth, talking to people. And to get across town or go long distances, a train was the only way to do it, right? So when she was born in 1916, that's the way of the world. She lived to be 2017. Everything changed, right? Everything changed. I will argue in her lifetime, she saw more change to the world than the world has ever seen. Would you all agree with that? For millions and millions of years, changes went really slow. To all of a sudden, boom. In 100 years, the 100 years that she lived in, right? There's lots of reasons why that happened. But if you can kind of see, in 1916, the life expectancy for men, the average 49.6 years. Okay, that's the average. Meaning, some people died at 29, some people died at 69. The average was 49. Okay? If you look to women, life expectancy 54.3. Alright, same thing. Now, if you notice, a couple things too. Women live longer than men. That's hereditary, but that's also what? We as guys, we're known for doing stupid things every once in a while, aren't we? That happens. That's part of it. Another thing I want to point out, notice this. See the ages? Notice how it gets it drops. What was going on about 1916, 1917 time frame? What was happening in the world? Anybody know? World War I, right? The ages, the life expectancy falls for the people that were born that went to go fought and died, right? So it brought the numbers down. Interesting side note. All right, now, fast forward a little bit for you all, okay? I know, I may not, you might be close to this, but the average life expectancy of people that are you all, because you all are probably, 2010-ish? I've got an 8th grader at home, and so she was 2009, so y'all 2008, right? All right, see, doing some quick math, right? So you all, their average life expectancy for you all, men 75, women 80, meaning some will be 55, some will be 95, the women 60, 100, right? So you are all life expectancy, if you want to, you can live to be 100, okay? Now, the changes is what we're going to talk about, right? Previous generations, my great-grandmother, my grandmother, even my parents, their life expectancy was kind of not as much as yours is going to be. But they worked for one company their entire career. And that company offered a pension. Anybody know what a pension is? Anybody have ever heard one, right? A pension used to be where a company says, hey, you work for us your whole career, and then when you retire, we'll pay you for the rest of your lifetime. We'll pay you, right? So you can retire and income will come in. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any planning. We're going to do it for you, okay? Now, the way of the world was, hey, I worked for a company for 20 years, then I retired, and I lived in retirement for 20 years. That worked, okay? Now, what if I worked for a company for 20 years and then I live in retirement for 50 years? Do you see why a company can't afford to keep doing that? Because people are living longer, right? We didn't know that people were going to live longer, but that's what's happened. Why do you think people are living longer now than what my great-grandmother had? Modern medicine, technology, right? The stuff that we know now, we never even dreamed of previously, okay? It's amazing what all of that has done. And then again, when we do it here in the United States, what happens? We bring the rest of the world up with us. People are doing it for their own self-interest, right? I'm trying to make money here, and guess what? I invent something, I help the rest of the world. Living standards go up because of it. The things that we're working on even still to this day, we've got the cure for cancer in the works, right? It's called immunotherapy. It's using your immune system. That's going to change dramatically for you all and every generation after that as well, right? I'm really excited about where we're going. But that stuff's continuing. It's not even just, hey, it happened once. It's continually keep going. All right. I saw this. This was from earlier this year in May. The city of Elizabethtown's Facebook page. The oldest resident in Elizabethtown is 107 years old. And she still lives at home. That's her with Mayor Gregory. You're going to see him next time, here in a few minutes, right? She's 107 years old. And if you saw her and you see her, she looks good. And she still lives by herself. You wouldn't even know it. But she's 107 years old, which is amazing, right? So we talk, pensions aren't going to do it. So if no one does it for you, who's going to do it? If no one else is going to do it for you, like the previous generations, who's going to have to do your retirement? Who do you think? No one else is going to do it for you, so that leaves yourself. Absolutely, right? So, if you know that, then the earlier you know that, the better it's going to be. That's why we're spending time talking about this. You're going to have to do it yourself. Now, companies are going to say, hey, we will help you, but we can't afford to do it all. So basically, you're going to be able to take advantage of companies' help, but they can't do it all. But you have to do it, some of it yourself, okay? All right. I like this quote. Anybody ever heard of Warren Buffett? Warren Buffett's the richest person in the world. He's made all of his money from investing, okay? One of his very first investments was a company called Government Employee Insurance Company of America. Anybody ever heard of that company? Government Employee Insurance Company of America. The acronym's kind of in it. Anybody ever heard of Geico? That's his company. He owns Geico. But when he was doing that, he was saying, hey, they insure government employees. Typical government employees, an office worker or a teacher, right? They don't go skydiving on the weekends. They're not living crazy risk lifestyles. So what he was thinking is, hey, they pay their insurance, their life insurance. I get this money. Eventually, I'm going to pay them something when they die. But in the meantime, I get to take that money and invest it, pay them what I own, and I get to keep the difference. He's a great investor. He's a very smart investor. But he's got a saying. He says, if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. That's what we're talking about. If you don't plan for retirement, if you don't start putting some of the money away, don't spend every dollar you make every paycheck, put some aside. Have it growing in something, right? You know, stocks, not the only place to invest, but I'm going to explain more on it in just a little bit. But investing it so that sometime in the future it's growing, that you can quit working and you'll still have money coming in. You'll still be able to put food on the table and pay your bills, okay? So that's what that's what we're going to talk about. All right, the other thing I like, right? Albert Einstein. He says the greatest invention of mankind is compounding interest. That's what we're going to talk about. Compounding interest, it sounds complicated, it's really not. Compounding interest is getting interest on your interest on your interest, right? So let's pretend, let's say I've got $100 and I go to the bank and I put my money in that bank. The bank's going to pay me interest. Agreed? You all with me? Let's pretend that they pay 10%. So I left my money in there for a whole year. I come back a year later. Now my money's worth how much? $110. Okay, so I got $10 worth of interest. The second year, I leave it in there. Still 10%, but I go back on that second year. Now, my money's worth $121. Okay, you with me? The first year, they gave me $10 worth of interest. The second year, they gave me $11. I understand the 10, but where'd that 1 come from? I got interest on my interest from the year before. Y'all with me? So that $10 that I got the first year, it's starting to get interest. That's what we're talking about. Getting interest on interest on interest, okay? The more time you let it go, the bigger it becomes. The higher it is, okay? Think of it this way, a snowball. At the top of a mountain, the snowball starts rolling down the mountain. What's happening to that snowball? It's getting bigger, right? Would you agree the bigger that mountain is, the bigger the snowball is going to be? That's the same thing. The sooner you start saving and investing, the bigger it's going to be down the road. Just a small amount even will be a lot of money later. But the key thing is you've got to start when you're young. You got to start soon, right? That's why we're spending time. Because what do you all have the most of between now and retirement? You got a lot of time, right? You just start doing it, get in the habit of doing it without even noticing it. You're doing something that you're going to be a millionaire later. You can do whatever you want in retirement. But if you don't do it, you're going to be working till your day you die. And that's not much fun. So that's what we want to avoid. Why do you think I want to spend time talking to you all about this? Because if I'm right, if somebody listens and a bunch of you all listen, our community is a healthy community for decades to come, right? If we had no money and everybody had bad habits, we would have a bad community with crime and all the other bad stuff, right? But if people understand this and they're healthy financially, guess what? Hardin County continues to be a good community to live in. This is where I want to be. This is where my kids are wanting to be. I've been here for a long time. I'm going to stay here. So that's why I want to be talking to you all, to ensure that where I live is still going to be a good place to live down the road. Anybody ever heard of a 401k plan? Okay, you hear that? A 401k is what companies are going to do in the future to help you with retirement. Since they can't do it all themselves, they're going to help you. So they're going to offer a 401k. And so what they're going to do is say, hey, if you put some money in retirement, you personally, the company will also put some in as well. We're going to help. We're going to match what you put into it. That's free money. That's doubling your money just by showing up if you just participate and do that, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to offer a match. Let's pretend that you make $40,000. If that company says we're going to offer a 5% match, it's 5% of whatever your salary is. So if someone says, hey, I make $40,000, 5% is $2,000. If I put $2,000 into the retirement account, the company is also going to put $2,000, okay? Now, if I put in $1,000, they're only going to put in $1. If I put in $0, they're not going to put in anything, okay? So you want to be doing this. When you start working, the first paycheck, get in the habit of starting to do this. And it's going to keep growing. All right. Now, if someone said, hey, I want to do $2,000 a year, just start at $2,000 a year. That works out to be $166.67 a month. I don't know if y'all know, but your cell phone bill or your cable bill is probably in that same range. You could afford to do it if you wanted to, okay? But I want you to get in the habit of just doing it. Get started doing it, okay? But if you did that, you know, again, you're putting in your money, they're putting in theirs. Guess what? You're doing it, okay? So let's go through an example. Let's say somebody's going to start when they're 22. If you can do it sooner, I hope you do. I'll show you that in a second. Let's say somebody does exactly what I just told you, $166.67. They get $2,000, the company's going to give them $2,000. So that's a total of $4,000. Let's say you do this till the age of 65, okay? Now, what we don't know is how fast it's going to grow. The economy has a big indication on how much money grows, okay? All right? Again, if it grew at 8% every year, by the time you're 65, you have 1.3 million. 10%, you'd have $2.3 million. At 12.6, which has been the average, some years it's 0 and some it's 25-ish, right? You would have almost $5.2 million by the time you retire. Do you think you could retire comfortably with $5 million in the bank? I could. if I got 12% a year, my money grew every year by 12%. Take 12 divided into 72, this is called the rule of 72, it would give you an idea. If I got 12% a year, my money would double every 6 years. If I got 10%, it would take 7.2 years to double. Do you see how it slows down? Went from 6 years to 7.2. If I got 3%, it would take my money 26 years to double. So to his point, if it doesn't grow very fast, it's going to take forever. It's going to be slower, right? We want it to grow as high as we possibly can, as consistently as we possibly can, okay? All right, so that's what we're wanting to do. Now, what we're talking about, growing, investing, right? Anybody ever heard of buying stocks, right? Good. When you hear stocks, I want you to think ownership. You own a part of that business. You, along with millions of other people, own it, right? It could be lots of things. It could be McDonald's, it could be Nike, Walmart, you name it. You own a part of that business. If that business makes more money next year, what do you think? Is the business more valuable or less valuable? More. Guess what? Your little part goes up in value, right? So that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about investing and growing it, we're wanting companies that are going to grow in the future, right? You know, we're going to diversify. We want a bunch of them. But like I said, that's what we're talking about. That's been a good way to invest over time. Because companies make money. Companies are smart. If they're not, what happens to the companies? They go by the wayside, right? You continue to keep going fire. You're letting someone else help you pick those. You don't have to do it yourself. Someone else is picking which companies to own, right? You may be the next Amazon, Apple, Google, right? Someone else is doing that for us. We don't have to be looking for that. A mutual fund, somebody's going to do it for you, all right? If that's what you're wanting to do. All right, so this is a free website. Y'all know, have you ever heard of Dave Ramsey? Anybody? You will. When you all get to be seniors, that class, they've gone through his program to do the financial literacy. But on the website, you just type Dave Ramsey Financial Calculator. You'll find this calculator that I have. So now, this is something where you can play around with. You can say, what if I did this? What if I did that? Where would I be, right? All right, let's say you're 18 years old. You can do it sooner. And in fact, if you want to do investing, I would ask your parents, hey, I would like to do this. For one, they'd be floored that you asked something so smart and intelligent and mature. Wow, I'm really impressed. They will help you find a place to do it. You can do it a lot of places. You can do it online. There's Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab. There are people like myself in the community everywhere. Somebody will help you. If you want to do investing and get started, the sooner the better. But let's say you start, let's say you do 18, you're 18, okay? Let's say you're going to start with $100. I'm going to put $100. I'm going to start investing that. I'm also going to get in the habit, let's say I do $100 every month, right? Just put it in there. It's coming out of the bank account. I don't even notice it's gone, all right? And then let's assume it grows at 12%. Like I said, that's been the average, right? All right, so what do you think? 18 years old, $100 a month from now to your 60-something. $3.5 million. Now, later, when you're working, in your 20s, maybe your 30s for sure, your 40s, is $100 a month much of all? Could you afford to probably save more at that point? Absolutely, right? So all we're doing is just doing something early on that eventually what would happen? You'll up it, you'll increase it because you're going to have more money. The other part too is that $100, if you did it at a company, you put in 50, the company's going to put in 50. You didn't even have to do much at all with $50 a month, all right? So we can change that. So what we can control is how much we save, right? Let's change that. Let's move the monthly contribution. Let's put it to $500. What do you think is going to happen? Is this number going to change a lot or a little, you think? A lot. Any guesses? Is it going to be over 10 million, you think? You'll see. $17 million, right? By the time you're 65, that would be a lot of money, right? Think about it this way. If I just said, hey, I could live off the interest. If I had $17 million in the bank and I got 5%, I could live off, $85,000, $90,000 a year, and I don't have to do anything, right? More than that, right? All right, so that's what I'm getting at. Now, let's say what happens, let's change that to 8%. Let's say it doesn't grow as much. And again, we can't necessarily control this, but we sort of can. But what if it was 8% instead of 12? It drops down dramatically, right? So what I want you to see is the higher it grows, the better, right? The part that I love what I do, I let most of my money be in mutual funds. Slow and steady, somebody's doing it. I'm hitting singles and doubles over here. But I can take a small amount over here, and I'll be swinging for the fences with them. If I'm wrong here, it doesn't hurt me. If I'm right here, guess what? I got a bunch of money. I'll put it there, and I'll try to do it again. I love that part of what I do. Finding companies that I think are going to make a lot of money in the future, right? So if I'm right with what I'm doing, this very well could go up to a big number. Put in 15%. I don't know the answer. What if I got 15% growth every year? That's kind of what Warren Buffett would get. I can do okay with almost $60 million by the time I'm 65, right? Again, that's what I want to get at is the sooner you start, the higher you can get to grow, the better it's going to be, right? Anybody have any questions? His question is, what if you're 18 years old, you're a college student, you don't have a whole lot of money, you can only afford to do 20? Actually, let's do that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to show it, hey, I'm going to start out when I'm 18. I can only do a little, okay? 4 years from now that's worth $1,385. Now let's change that to, all right, $1,385 is how much I have now. Let's say I'm 22, and let's move that to like 30. But now I can afford more than $20 a month because I got a job. You know, let's move that to $200. Okay? Now let's do it. Now I got $35,000. I'm 30 years old. Okay? Do the same thing. Move it up to 30. And now, whenever you get pay increases, you get pay raises, pay yourself first. Start saving more of that. You're used to living within your means. When you get a pay raise, don't even change your habits yet. Save it. Make that go up. Make your savings that you're putting toward it go up. Put that to like 50. And now let's say we're going to contribute $1,000. And again, I'm assuming too, I'm putting in $500. That's $6,000 a year. If you're making decent money, you can afford that if you make a priority. But I'm also going to say the company's going to help with the other $500. So I'm doing $1,000 a month. By the time I'm 50, now look, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So what I want you to think about is you start somewhere, getting in the habit of doing that. Over time, increase how much you save. The sooner you increase it, the more you increase it, the bigger that's going to be, right? Just like that snowball at the top of the mountain. Okay? And one more question? Yes? That's a good question, right? There's people pay a lot of money to figure out where do I want to go next, right? It's going to be tough. You're going to have to be looking saying, hey, where do I think we're going in the future? I'm trying to think that all the time, right? Where is new opportunities? Where's new inventions? Where's new ideas? Where are those going? To me, there's a lot of technology that's coming. You know, think about it this way. Is everything that's been invented already happened? No, right? So you need to look for new technologies, new ideas. Where does that pop up? For me, it comes anywhere. I've had a couple where I'm just walking through the house and on the nightly news I saw something that's like, whoa. They had taken gene therapy and corrected and completely reversed blindness for a person. I was like, that's pretty cool, right? There was another one, 60 Minutes did a piece where they completely have cured sickle cell anemia in patients, right? So those things are happening. My thought that I told you about, cancer immunotherapy. We're curing people's cancer. In your body, some of your immune system can see your cancer mutation, but you don't have many of those cells in your body. They take your cells out of the body, they grow it out by an army of billions of your cells, and just put them back in your body. They go to work, they kill the cancer, they leave the rest of the body alone, right? It's amazing. Another one that I have that I like a lot. We figured out a way to recycle plastics, right? Plastic's a big problem. As you know, plastic doesn't go anywhere. It sits for 10,000 years without breaking down. Also, plastic's made from oil. We know about oil. Oil is a monopoly product, right? If we start reusing our plastic, our dependency for oil falls, right? The company I'm talking about, got to have a monopoly doing that. So there's anywhere, and that's what the fun part can be, is I'm looking for it. I'm not actively trying, but when I see it, I take that and say, I'm going to go investigate what they do. Can I invest in that? You see new technologies. You all see new fashions, new shoes, new things. There's a way that you can invest if you see it. Be like, hey, I remember when the first people started to come out with Crocs, you know, the shoes. If you saw them, you're like, people like those, right? You could have invested, you could have made a bunch of money. Now, something like that's also a fad where it goes up and then it comes back down. Similar to like Peloton bikes during COVID, right? So you kind of also need to be realistic. It can be anywhere. You know, if you're in debt, you can't take chances and grow your money because you owe to somebody else. So that's another reason people make a lot of problems is they go into debt. So try not to do that. Debt's not fun, right? But yes, if you match it, if you put it in the 401k, they have to match. They will. I appreciate you all listening. You all have been very attentive in that. I'm grateful for that. Hopefully, just some of you all listen here. And again, if that has happened, I promise I've changed your family tree, which is pretty cool to think about for me. All right? Thank you all.
Mr. Ditto, thank you very much. What can you do to be a leader in your community? Now, that's the question that I'm going to force you to answer when we're done, all right? So I want you to start thinking about that. What can you do specifically, okay? So up next, we got two guys that are actually from here. We got the mayor of E-Town, Mr. Jeff Gregory, and we have the mayor of Ratcliffe, Mr. J.J. Duval. So they're going to talk to you, but once again, we're going to come back to this question. After you listen to them, you listen to our first speaker, you're going to listen to these guys. These guys do something for our community every day. So I'm going to challenge you to answer this question when we're done. What can you do specifically to help your community? Everybody, Mayor Ratcliffe, J.J. Duval, Mayor E-Town, Mr. Jeff Gregory.
How many of you guys, so you're from North of John, correct? How many of you guys realize that both those schools are in Ratcliffe? Everybody know that? Right? So John has an E-Town address, but where's it located? I just wanted Jeff to hear that. I don't want him to get confused and thought that John was an E-Town. He didn't know that.
We may try to get you started out.
So how are you guys doing? Good. All right. Well, I'm J.J. Duval. I'm the mayor there in Ratcliffe.
Jeff Gregory, I'm the mayor of Elizabeth County. So we're going to come speak to you all for a few minutes about leadership and some things that you can do to improve your leadership skills. And I see Mr. Mahomes put that question up on the board. And before we get started, I want to go a little interactive and ask you all, what are some of the things that you can do to improve your community? Anybody have any idea? Yes, sir. Community service. That's a great answer, and it's all encompassing. When you talk about community service, you volunteer for civic organizations, or you walk around your parks and you pick up trash. But there's lots of different things that you can do as far as community service goes. There's soup kitchens that you can volunteer in and help people that are less fortunate. All those things are leadership skills and roles that you can perform, and they're all very important. And what I would like to emphasize to you all is, if you all go out and show that you're willing to do that, other people pick up on it and they want to do that too. So it just takes one person to start off and make a difference. So you want to be a great example for others, and that's a great way to start that off. Who else? Who else has an idea? Yes, sir.
Raking leaves.
Say it again.
Raking leaves.
Raking leaves. Hey, I could have you come over to my house if that's okay.
Dude, that
But yeah, raking leaves. That's hey, are you showing leadership skills if there's a lady that's elderly, or a man that's elderly, or a couple that live in your neighborhood that can't get out and they need some yard work help, and you go over and help them? Is that leadership? It is. It's also a very nice thing to do. So, who else? Yes, sir. Give back. That's right. So, how do you give back? Let me ask you that. So let me tell you the best way to be able to give back. The best way to be able to give back is to work hard in school and to keep your nose clean and stay out of trouble, and go to a college or to a grade school and make something of yourself and have a good life and put yourself in a position where you can give back. Because it's hard to give back if you're fighting for yourself all the time. Work hard, put yourself in a position where you're in a financial situation or you're in a life situation that you're able to give back. But that's a very good answer.
So Jeff and I both come from backgrounds of families that's been in our community for many years. We help, both of our families have helped shape, whether it's Elizabethtown or Radcliffe or surrounding areas. Jeff comes from a background of law enforcement. I come from a background of doing electrical work and owning our own businesses. So what made us get involved in becoming leaders in our community, right? So both of us are fairly young. We're probably, when we go on like trips or we go places, we're probably some of the youngest mayors of size. Jeff's definitely probably one of the youngest mayors of Elizabethtown, like that size city. I mean, that's compared to Bowling Green, Owensboro, Covington, Newport, our cities that are huge here in our communities. So Jeff's probably one of the youngest. I'm one of the youngest mayors for a city our size. So I started when I was 26. So when you talk about leadership, you talk about wanting to see change. I got involved because I didn't like how we were being taxed in our business. There was a tax that the city of Radcliffe put into place on businesses that I didn't agree with. And so in speaking with the council person, I'm one of those, when somebody tells me I can't do something, I try it. And so when the council person told me that that's just the way it is, and if you don't like it, and I remember his finger coming to my face and telling me, well, you should just run for council. Well, I did. Well, keeping in mind, that same gentleman, years before that, ran for mayor and lost. I ran for mayor and won. So I guess I did a pretty good job, but I made the changes that I wanted to see happen in my community. And so doing that, just like this young man said, I stepped up and took the challenge, and at 29 years old, I was elected mayor of Radcliffe. So and I'm also a North Hartford grad, so I was proud to be part of my community and help shape what goes on in my community.
So one of the things that I will tell you, the very first place to start in being a leader, in my opinion, and I think Mr. Wright will agree with me, Mr. Mahone will agree with me, Coach Lewis will agree with me, is it all starts with a great attitude. Everybody wants to be around somebody that has a great attitude. It's infectious. They want people that are upbeat, they want people that are positive, they want people that have a can-do attitude, and they want people that work hard. So everything starts with a great attitude. Another trait that you must have is you have to be honest. And you've got to tell the truth, because people will watch every move that you make, and they want to know that you're a solid guy. They want to know that you tell the truth. And listen, in our line of work, do you think that we ever make mistakes? He makes more than I do. But we all make mistakes. Occasionally we mess up. So you know what you do when you make a mistake? Do you try to hide it? Do you try to lie your way around it? Listen, and this is a great lesson, I promise you. If you make a mistake, just look at whoever it is that you're dealing with and say, hey, I messed up. What we need to do to fix it? My fault, I messed up. Because I promise you, in life, most people are very forgiving, and they appreciate somebody that is not perfect and is willing to admit that. So the best thing you can do is just say, hey, I messed up. What do I need to do to fix it? What do I need to do to make it right? That's the way you approach things. And then you keep your integrity and you keep your character, and then that leads to what I want to talk about that is the very most important, and it starts before or even now in your all's age group, and that's reputation. Because listen, it takes all your life to build your reputation. All your life. And you can ruin it in a split second. One bad decision and then followed by another bad decision, or something goes on, you can, if you're dishonest, immoral, or get outside of what your character should be, you ruin your reputation just like that, and then you've got to start all over. So, your reputation is important, but everything that comes with that, as far as honesty and your character, and telling the truth and being honest and working hard, that's what builds your reputation. So, all those things are what leads you to who you're going to become. And listen, like I said, everybody makes mistakes and everybody messes up. You just have to be willing enough to admit that, hey, I messed up. What do I need to do to fix it? And I'm sorry. It's okay.
You guys got your freshmen, you got 4 years. Jeff and I, at the last time we were here, we talked. I mean, it really passes fast. Honestly, like I remember standing and being in the same position you guys are, having people like us come and speak and tell you what you should be doing or what you shouldn't be doing. This is what you need. It's all true. It really is. Because we come from a place of experience. Chad comes from a place of experience. We all come from a place of being you guys, getting in trouble, running around, maybe acting sometimes like we shouldn't, or doing really good things. The thing that's mostly different, or that's most different in your all's age group, that's much different than some of these older folks, is these things. We didn't have this stuff. How many of y'all got cell phones? How many got social media? Everybody got social media, was it? Snapchat, whatever y'all have now. That's much different than what we had. You know what we used to do going down the road with our parents? Stared out the window looking at trees.
Kind of strange cars.
We couldn't see in front of us unless we leaned around our parents. We only had to look out the side windows. So guess what Jeff and I get to do when we hire? We're the only two people in our cities that can hire and fire. Well, we have department heads. Jeff has quite a few more than I do. I think I have 9. I mean, he got 10, so we're close. Those department heads do hiring. Well, in that hiring process, what do? Background checks, right? What do you got to have to live? You got to have a job, right? City government work doesn't pay the most, but the benefits and everything that comes with it's pretty good. Holidays, everything you get. So we do background checks. Well, guess what's one of the first things we do, Jeff, when we go to background checks?
Start looking at their posts. Start looking at their pictures that they have on their background. And so if there's offensive language on there, and I don't want you, if there's, for guys, if there's derogatory comments towards women, don't want you. You know why? Because then we start, if we hire you, and that's the kind of person you are, and there's sexual harassment lawsuits and everything else, then we're dealing with all that. If there's drinking or drug abuse issues that we can see in your background or on your social media, I don't want you. There's too much liability for a company our size. We have 330 employees, and we have to pay a whole lot of money out for insurance. And so we're looking for good people with good leadership skills, with good morals, with good character that'll work hard.
Some of you guys play sports. So what happens if something goes wrong? Y'all get to play? What happens when y'all want to go to D1? They're going to be looking at your social media posts. How if y'all want to get a scholarship? What's going to happen?
I promise you those coaches and those guys and gals that are recruiting are looking at your social media. So, and I'll even expand that a little bit farther. When you do post things on there, even if it's positive things, check your grammar, check your spelling, check your sentence structure. Because they want guys and gals that are going to come to their school and be good students too. And if you got something on there in a whole different language and nobody can even read or understand, they don't want to fool with that. So, just the truth, Coach Lewis has had several players that have gone D1 and D2 and D3 and NAIA, and he knows what recruiters look for. And I'm telling you, he'll tell you, they look at your social media and they do background on you and they see what kind of kid you are and what kind of family you come from, even though that's not the end-all be-all. They're looking at the kid. But they want to know how you acted as a kid. When I was a Kentucky State Trooper, I did background checks for our agency whenever we were hiring new troopers. And some of the things that we did when we did the background checks is we called 10 references of people that you grew up with. And in the case of the state police, because most of those people were already adults, we wanted all of your references from the places that you worked before. We called all of them, checked all your social media. We even had you list, if you went to church, who your pastor was. And then we talked to Sunday school teachers. And everything that you can think of, look at driving record, everything that you've done up to that point in your life, we would find out about it. And that's how we would decide whether you would proceed in your background investigation, whether you get to the next step and even be entertained to be hired for employment. So it can be lengthy. So I'm telling you, as 14, 15-year-old kids, the decisions that you all make right now matter. And I'm not scaring you to death, trying to scare you to death and tell you not to be a kid. Back to the, hey, we're going to mess up some, so you're sorry. But just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind what you put out there for everybody to see about you. And keep that in mind about the decisions you make in school. And keep that in mind about the decisions you make when you're out and about in everyday life, and do the right thing.
Yeah, when and if you ever have the ambition of getting into the political world, they went all the way back to trying to find people I had in college and asked them how I was in college. So, I mean, it is. If you want a good career, and we hope you all become productive adults, 4 years pass you very quickly. And it'll be here before you know it. Then you'll be out on your own, and you'll have to make decisions in the real world. And so Jeff and I are here to really tell you, we want to support you, want to see you go on and do good things, and want you to come back to our community and support the community in which you were raised in.
Before we get done, I want to do one thing real quick. I want to give you all a recruiting pitch. Since we talked about recruiting and going to school and different things, Mayor Duval touched on it a minute ago. We want all of you all to be extremely successful. And we want all of you all to come back to this community because we need our young people to come back, our young capable people to come back and work in our community and be our next leaders. So I don't know if you all follow very much about what's going on economically in this area or in this region, but we've landed the largest investment in the state of Kentucky's history 3 miles south of E-Town in Glendale. You all know where Glendale is. Just go down the interstate, look to your right when you get to the 86 exit. Ford Motor Company and SK Innovations, which is a Korean company, a very, very good Korean company, are putting in an electric battery plant for EV vehicles, electric vehicles, which everyone tells us is going to be the new thing moving forward for the next 10 years. So, yeah, it's a $5.8 billion investment, 5,000 jobs. So what that's done, it's huge. Imagine that, 5,000 people have to work there, and they have to have a special skill to be able to work there. But what that's done is we've already seen 3 to 4 different what they call ancillary companies come in, which are support companies for that plant. And they're bringing jobs, 150, 200, 250, 300 jobs for those plants that are helping support, I guess what you call the mothership, which is the Blue Oval SK plant. And we're going to see a whole lot more in this area. And you're going to see more in Radcliffe, up in Mill Pond. Our industrial park is almost full. We're looking for property to buy to extend our industrial park so we can put more plants out there. But what I'm telling you is they're high technology jobs that are starting off $21, $22, $23 an hour depending on what your skill level is, and then even way more if you're an engineer or electrician, plumber, all those different trades, we need them. So I know your teachers talked to you about college, and when we were in school, that was predominantly what they pushed you to try to do, go to college. College isn't the end all be all. I'm not saying you shouldn't go if you want to go. It's great. But we need tradespeople too. We need plumbers, we need electricians, we need HVAC people, we need welders, everything that you can think of. And guys, they're making a lot of money. They make a lot of money in those positions. And so those are the kind of jobs that we need, and we need you to come back here and take all the jobs that we're going to have. So there's a tremendous, tremendous opportunity in this region for you all.
A lot of those jobs will be available about the time you all.
Yes, it's almost perfect timing, to be honest with you, for this group. And so the future's bright here. So I know when I was in school, I heard a ton of people say it. Heck, I may even said it a couple times myself. I can't wait to get out of this town. I think you'll quickly find out that this is a pretty good place, or at least I hope that you do. And I hope that you will bring your talents back here and fill one of those spots, because the sky's the limit for E-Town, Radcliffe, Hardin County. It just is. The growth that we're going to see, and to be able to supplement that growth, to be able to get people to want to come back here or to stay here or to come here, it's our job to make sure that we have amenities in place that make this a place that people want to live. And so that's what we work on. My job and my goal in Elizabethtown is, you know, you always hear people say, oh, I went to Louisville and bought this, or I went to Louisville and bought that. I don't want to hear that anymore, because I want it to get to a point where you don't have to go to Louisville for anything, because we got it all right here. So I challenge you and encourage you to work hard, look and see what your goals are for the future. I'd love to keep you here, and there's going to be opportunities and jobs for you if you'll decide to come back here after you decide to do your education or your trade and locate right here in Hardin County, because we need you back.
Do your best. I mean, seriously, 4 years is fast. Fly by. Just get yourself prepared. It starts now. Everything that you're doing now, everything that your teachers are telling you, your teachers are there to support and help you. They're not there just because. They ain't getting rich because they're your teachers. They're there to help and support and hopefully make you into great people, great community members. It's like Jeff just said, all these jobs we've been, we didn't have that opportunity when we were growing up. So to be able to come back here, stay here, work here, raise a family here, Hardin County is a great place. Being a good leader in your community starts right now. You're in high school, 4 years fly by. Enjoy it, truly enjoy it. Because once you hit 18, guess what happens? Some of y'all are going to be having to pay your own bills, car payments, insurance, medical. Start adding it up. And life comes at you. Well, I'm 43 and 47. I mean, you know, it's 20 years ago. We look back, it flies by. So enjoy it, have a good time. We appreciate y'all being attentive. Y'all been great. Appreciate y'all listening.
And most of all, we're extremely proud of all of you and appreciate you. So remember, reputation is important, working hard is important, character is important, and surround yourself with people that have the same goals as you do. So all I have.
Let's give it up for the mayors, everybody.